The Vulnerable Hero podcast is here. Hi everyone, I'm Mack. I am your host of the Vulnerable Hero podcast, where I define vulnerability as having the courage to experience love in its purest form. How are you doing in your life? Are you living the life that you want to live? Or are you frustrated? Do you battle with anxiety, fear, stress, shame, guilt, judgment of others, which is truly a judgment of yourself? How are you doing in your life? I desire your freedom because free people are emotionally healthy people, and emotionally healthy people go out and heal emotionally other people and liberate their souls. That's what the purpose of this podcast is, to see a generational awakening of men and women. Learn what true emotional health and freedom is so that they can go out and heal another. And see the ripple effect of healed people, healing people, truly change society. But it doesn't start with attempting to change society. It starts with going down deep inside of us, each of us, to go in and unlock every door, every place of shame, things that we just have that tense feeling in our stomach where we don't want to address it, we don't want to look at it. Those are the places that we must sit and feel and learn to be comfortable with those moments and ask ourselves, why and where and how did these places of anxiety, stress, fear, shame, guilt, judgment, negative body image, all these things, where did they come from? And are they true? You see, most of us in our lives, I would actually pose to all of us, all of you listening, that any pain, trauma, guilt, shame, anything that ever made you feel small or minimize your existence on this earth, if you looked at it, was this a truthful act, meaning it can be brought into the market square and done in front of everyone without any justification, it's just truthful act. There's no need to justify it. Or was it a secretive, shameful lie? Were the acts that made you feel small truthful, or were they lies? See, most of us think of a lie as, I know what the truth is and I don't utter it. I share something else. I say something different. I lie. But a lie out of the mouth doesn't originate from our mind. It originates from our heart. But where did our heart learn that lie? Our heart learned that lie when a untruthful act, a lying act, was done to us. Whether it be you were beat, you were molested, you were screamed at, you were never held, there was a void of love, you were judged, you were ridiculed, you were bullied, you were whatever it was, at whatever time it was, those were not true. The truth is, you are a beautiful soul, a powerful soul, a soul that is a flame of fire, but it has been extinguished with lies. And a healthy person who deals with all the lies that have extinguished the soul, the fire, can reignite that fire, can go and dig deep and get to the place of where that lie originated from. That's what happened. I got to see this happen with 6 beautiful, powerful leaders, men, this past weekend. I led a Vulnerable Heroes men's retreat where 6 guys went into the mountains in this beautiful lodge right next to the Wenatchee River. Gorgeous, peaceful, looking at trees that have stood strong for so long. And I saw these men come with anxiety of what's going to happen? Are we going to hold hands and sing Kumbaya? I saw some guys look forward to it. Some were afraid, but regardless of how they came into it, every single one of them left changed. And they left changed because they left healed. And they left healed because they were willing, brave enough, had the courage to go back to the most painful memories of their life and face them in a safe space with men and share those spaces. And then through exercises and different things that we did, we're able to release the pain that they had carried for so long. And not just that, they were able to heal themselves by bringing back the innocence of themselves back into their body. You know, when someone shames you for whatever reason, most often shame is associated with sexual context. But it doesn't have to be there. It could be your physical body. It could be beating you. It could be bullying you for you. So shame says something is wrong with you. What's wrong with you? Why are you like this? And instead of turning back to the person who shames us, our typical natural inclination is to turn inside and look at us. Are they right? Is it true? Are they truthful? Or is it a lie? Sadly, we believe lies because we are not taught properly truth. So what I saw these men do was bring back the innocence. The time that innocence left the body, bring it back in and integrate it back into their body. Shame says, once your innocence is gone, it's gone. It can never come back. You lost it. For in the sexual context, how many men and women out there have lived with the shame of losing their virginity, losing it? I lost it. You can never have it back. You can never be pure again. You're defiled or whatever it is. If it's not in the beauty of 2 human beings coming together in honesty and truth and love. So we shame people. And then what happens with that shame is it takes root inside of our body and begins to erode our very soul and extinguish the joy, the excitement, the wonder, the curiosity, the smile, the laughter, the power that we carried with us as innocent children. And I am on a mission to see all of us learn how to get that back and integrate within ourselves so that we can liberate souls. The world I've said it before on this podcast. I will say it again now. The world does not need more macho men. It needs more courageous liberators of souls, willing to stand in the face of whatever shame, guilt, judgment, or fear, and stand in our own vulnerability and be the invitation and permission for others to stand in theirs. And one of the things that I think is worth talking about right now is sometimes, and majority of people listening who haven't gone through a process of inner work and healed yourself, I would say the majority of people need to learn how to be vulnerable. That vulnerability, the act of opening oneself up, having the courage to experience love, learning how to receive. That is what we need to teach most. But once and if you are vulnerable and learn to walk in the power of your vulnerability, sometimes we have to flex our vulnerability muscle, and sometimes we have to flex our hero muscle. Because a vulnerable person without the hero side is not a safe person to be around. And what do I mean by safe? I don't mean that they would hurt another person. What I mean by being safe is when there is the act of threat, violence, intimidation, fear, that they are strong enough to stand in their own power and I can run to them. Are you safe enough for people to run to you, fully trusting that you would never hurt them? For a long time in my life, I wasn't. I was a hurt person, and I hurt people. I caused a lot of pain, a lot of confusion. I caused a lot of tears because I was a hurt person, and instead of going internal, I went external, and I looked for validation. I looked for affirmation. I looked for connection. I looked for so many things. Even while I was married, even when I had children, I struggled with this narrative of I'm not enough. And that sounds so trite. It was a narrative of something's wrong with me. I am broken. And I went to go I saw anything I could to fix that feeling of brokenness. I remember thinking my brain just didn't fire like everyone else's brain, that there was gaps, that I was broken, which led to the suicidal thoughts and tendencies, which I just thought if I could get out of my body, then I could find relief. A release from this constant nagging dread that I'm broken, that I'm wrong, that I am wrong. And so I began a journey 3 years ago of doing a lot of work. I went to therapy every single week, sometimes twice a week for 2 years straight. Literally over the 2-year mark, I made it every single week, sometimes twice a week. I went to an emotional intelligence training. I learned how to face my fears. I also learned what love is, which is always unconditional. And I realized when love is present, truth will come forth. You can't force truth. Truth will come as a natural expression of love's presence. So I learned love. I also learned truth. And when I expressed the truth of my life, the truth of my story, the truth of the trauma that I had carried for so long, I experienced what I always craved. I would have given everything for. I did give everything for it. I experienced my freedom. I experienced peace. I experienced rest. I experienced community and tribe. And I've continued to do a lot of work. It didn't stop there. I'm always doing work so that others can join me like the men did in the mountains this weekend. Wherever you are listening, there are people that listen to this podcast all over the world. If you are a man, I invite you to connect with me. Connect with me, brother. I will not shame you or judge you. There is help available for you, and not help as in you are powerless and you need help. There's powerful support that you get to surround yourself with to be the permission for you to liberate your own soul. The time is now, my friends. It is actually here. As it has become so dark in society with so much violence and hatred, racism, gangs, despair, suicide, all the things that are terrible, politics, the light is shining forth brightly. And in the beautiful light piercing the darkness, darkness does not have any power, so it goes away. Just like fear has no power. Where love is present, fear goes away. Where fear is present, we know there's an absence of love. Just like light and darkness, where darkness is present, we know there's an absence of light. So when you go into the darkness, the fear that you've carried for so long, and you go inside, that is where you can unlock your light and bring that light forth. What's his name? Who's the musician? Bruce Springsteen. He sings that song, "This Little Light of Mine." I'm going to let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. When that song was first written, it wasn't in the context of electricity. There was no flashlight, there was no battery power or grid that light was able to be produced from. Light in that context was produced from fire. So this little fire of mine, I'm going to let it shine. I'm going to let it blaze. And your soul can be ablaze again as you do the inner work to heal. I hope this podcast encourages you, blesses you, and provokes you to your own path of healing. I'm so honored to have you join. My name is Lucas Mack, and I look forward to speaking with you on the next episode.